Welcome to government class. Today's class will be a continuation of what we're looking at in the last class, which is sources of revenue for the local government. In today's class, we'll be looking at another source of revenue for the local government, which is fees. Fees is similar to what we looked at in the last class, rates. Fees and rates are quite similar because they are both charged on the services that the local government provide for the people at the local areas. So fees are charged on market stalls, they are charged on motor parks, they are charged on the registration of births, deaths, and marriages. Fees are also charged on slaughterhouses and public convenience. Fees are equally charged on services that the local government does not provide. Services such as the issuance of license to, they charge fees on licenses to television stations, radio stations. They charge fees to canoes that we use in transportation. They charge fees on beer parlors, restaurants, public eating places, bakeries, sales of liquor, and many more. So the federal government charge fees on business, and it's also a major source of revenue for the local government. The fees that they charge on both services they provide and services that they do not provide but are of important services within our local areas. The next source of revenue of the local government to be looking at is called the personal income tax. Personal income tax. The local government collects taxes from non-salary earners. That's what we looked at when we looked at rates, when we said we have rateable adults. Rateable adults are adults that pay tax, that are qualified to pay tax. So yes, the local government also gets their one of the major sources of income for the local government is also called the personal income tax. The personal income tax. This personal income tax is collected from non-salary earners. The reason why the local government does not collect this personal income tax from salary earners is because of the pay-as-you-earn system that is in place, whereby the employers of these salary earners already deduct their tax from their salaries. So it is the employers that then pay the tax to the local government. One other important thing that I want us to understand from this personal income tax is that the local government keep only a percentage of this tax for themselves and they give the rest to the federal government. So the local government does not keep all the percentage of the tax to themselves. They only take a certain percent and then they give the rest to the federal or the central government. So yes, the personal income tax is collected from only non-salary earners. Why don't they collect it from salary earners? Because of the pay-as-you-earn system, whereby the employers of the salary earners already deduct the tax from their salaries, and then it is the employers of the salary earners that are required to pay this tax to the local government. The next source of income we'll be looking at is income from investment. This source of revenue is very important for any local government that plans to grow. They need income from investments. Income from local governments derive revenue by investing their money in profit-yielding economic ventures, such as buying of shares. What are shares? Shares is a percentage of ownership in a company or a financial asset. So yes, let's go a bit into economics. Shares is a part of ownership. It's a percentage of ownership in a company or a financial asset. So how will the local government make money? By buying shares of a company. When any person, any entity, or any organization buys the shares of a company, when the company makes profit, they get a certain percentage of the profit based on the percentage of the shares they bought. So for when the local government invests in an organization or in a financial asset, when that organization gets profit, the local government is entitled to a certain percentage of the profit based on the percentage of their shares. So when the local government invests in buying of shares, they can get profit. Another way the local government can get profit under this income from investment is by partnering with viable commercial organizations. When the local government partners with viable commercial organizations, they can make profit. Somebody is wondering, okay, how will I make profit from partnering with a commercial organization? In business partnership, everybody that is partnering with that business, they make an agreement based on how they want the profit to be shared. So this is not based on the amount of shares you bought as in shares. It is based on what everybody has agreed upon. So when a local government enters into partnership with a viable commercial organization, they get profit. They make profit based on, the stipulated profits that all the partners have agreed to give to the local government, or even any partner in that business. So people make money from partnership by splitting the profits the organization gets in a manner that all the business partners have agreed on. So this is not based on the amount of shares. It is based on what everybody has agreed upon. So it might not be equal, just based on what every partner of that business has agreed upon to share. So when a local government as an entity enters into partnership with an organization, they get profit they can make profit based on, the profit that the business partners together have agreed upon to give the local government. The local government also makes profit by financing viable commercial or economic projects that can bring profit to them, that will provide good revenue in return. The local government can also make profit by financing profitable commercial or economic ventures that would bring good revenue to them. And this brings us to what we call income from commercial ventures. Income from commercial venture. You will recall that the income we talked about now is income from investment. That is, the local government as an entity can invest in economic viable business to get profit. But now the local government can also get income from by investing in commercial ventures such as agriculture. If the local government invests in agriculture, they can get profits for themselves. If the local government invests in commercial ventures such as guest houses, when people stay in the guest house, they get profits. If the local government invests in consultancy services, they get profit. So the local government can also invest in commercial ventures. The local governments are empowered to take commercial ventures and to make profit from them. The local government is empowered to enter into commercial ventures and to make profit from them. The local government could invest in transportation services, they could invest in agriculture, they could invest in guest houses, consultancy services, land, and many more things. So when the local government invests in these commercial ventures, they in turn get revenue that enable them to develop their local government areas. The next source of income we'll be looking at is fines. Fines. You recall that when we talked about the functions of the local government, we talked about the fact that the local government is enabled to make bylaws. They are responsible for maintaining law and order in the community, within their local government area, and they are empowered to make bylaws. And then we talked about the fact that anybody that breaks a bylaw is tried at the customary court. Now, when you get to the customary court, another source of revenue for the local government is the fines that these offenders pay at the customary court. So when a person breaks a bylaw, they are charged to the customary court. At the customary court, they might be required to pay a fine. This fine forms the basis of another source of income for the local government. So the local government makes money from fines from offenders, for people that break the bylaws. Equally, people that do not pay their required rates or fees or for the motor parks, for the market stalls, for licenses and all, they would also be fined, and these fines provide a basis for another source of income for the local government. Another source of revenue for the local government is what we call the property or the tenement rate. The property or the tenement rate. What is a property or a tenement rate? A property or a tenement rate is a tax imposed on the owners of buildings or tenements. Is a tax that is imposed on people that own buildings. The property rate is based on the evaluated cost of the building. The property rate is based on the evaluated amount of the building. So property or tenement rate is a rate that the people that own buildings within a local government area pay, and the rate they pay is based on the evaluated amount of the building. Before they pay this rate, a professionally competent evaluator evaluates the building. They evaluate what the worth of the building is before they give the amount that the owners of this building will pay to them. And this is a very, very major source of income for the local government. But unfortunately, only local governments in the urban or semi-urban areas usually benefit from this particular source of income, because those in the rural area do not have these big buildings that would actually worth so much money as to bring enough revenue for the local government. So only those in the only local governments in the urban and the semi-urban areas benefit from this tenement rates. And property or tenement rate is imposed on everybody that owns a building or a private building or a commercial building. So whether the building is for your personal use, or you build it to get money, or you build a shopping complex to, for rent, property or tenement rate is always built on every building, both the private building and the commercial building. And this fee is only imposed after a professionally competent evaluator has evaluated the amount of the building, and before the rate the owners of this building will pay is given to them. And the payment of this property or tenement rate is usually based on the evaluated amount of the building. The next source of income we'll be looking at is called loans. Loans. The local governments are empowered to get loans from microfinance banks or the government. So the local governments are empowered to raise loans from bank or government to finance capital projects. So local government as an entity is allowed to take loans from the bank or from the government to finance their capital project. So a local government can equally borrow loan from the bank to probably finance the building of their public healthcare centers. They will probably want to make borrow available in a community. The local government is empowered to take loans from the bank or the government. The last source of income we'll be looking at is gifts and donations. Gifts and donations. Individuals, groups, organizations can give donations to the local government. In Nigeria, when the local governments are launching, maybe they just finished building a public healthcare center. When they are launching the public healthcare center, certain people give donations, they give gifts to the local government. This also forms a source of revenue for the local government, though not a very stable source of revenue, but it still also forms a source of revenue for the local government. The gifts and the donations that the local government realizes from events or from launching of new events or projects. And with this, we've come to the end of the class. In this class, we looked at the sources of revenue for the local government, the ways the ministry with the local government gets money to continue their day-to-day activities, to start new projects, to maintain the existing markets, motor parks, and other activities they have in place. In the next class, we'll be looking at the factors that affect the performance of the local government, of local governments in Nigeria.